War is a serious matter. When two countries go to war, everyone is affected. The soldiers and fighters are ordered to kill other humans because they are evil. Those left behind, or separated from the violence, deal with foreign intruders, brutal oppression, and other equally devastating changes to their lives. Those who live through a war and want to talk about it can create compelling and frightening stories about how humans act. The novel Once by Morris Gleitzman begins the story of a young Jewish boy who realizes how terrible war really is for himself and everyone around him. The main character, Felix, is sent to an orphanage in Poland before that country is conquered by Nazi Germany in 1939. Felix spends more than 3 years away from the fighting, devastation, and turmoil that so many others faced. But Felix is not content to live away from his parents, who sold Jewish books before the war began. Felix runs away from the orphanage to make sure his parents are still happy and healthy like he remembers them. Felix's young mind does not fully understand the things he sees, and it takes a few life or death situations for him to figure out who is making Poland's Jewish population suffer. The reader may understand what is really going on before Felix does, which makes his eventual discoveries more affecting. The characters in this novel are all hurt by war in different ways, sometimes having to do things they find wrong in order to survive. One example of this is the dentist Barney. Barney's skills are useful to the Nazi soldiers occupying the city he lives in. The soldiers pay Barney with fresh food and supplies when he fixes their teeth. Now, this may seem wrong since the Nazis are Poland's enemies. However, Barney also has several orphaned children under his care that he must protect from Nazi soldiers and supporters. Felix eventually accompanies Barney when Barney realizes the boy can tell good stories. Felix uses these stories to comfort Barney's patients in the place of painkillers or antiseptic. People like Barney show the reader how desperate things have become after war has begun. A specific writing technique the author uses is the repetition of the word once. Each chapter starts with that word at the beginning of a statement by Felix. Each of these statements sounds like the start of its own story, which makes Felix's adventure to find his parents seem as grandiose as a big drama or a play. Here's an example. Once I loved stories, and now I hate them. This made me stop and think when I first read it. What caused this change to happen? Why is it important to Felix? Someone you know, or maybe you yourself, may have talked about some past event as if it were a great story. Sometimes you exaggerate what happened. Other times it sounds so incredible on its own, you can just tell it as is. In Felix's case, his story is so unfortunately harsh enough that he does not need to overemphasize anything. Once has 150 pages, and there's a lot for you to read inside there. You will see a world through a young boy's eyes, a country hurt by war in many different ways. Felix sees people forced to adapt or die, and how this adaptation changes people's personalities. Felix is one of these people by the novel's end. He changes. His youthful energy and quick-thinking mind helps him stay alive and makes new friends. But Felix's story has only just begun. Once you see Felix's first steps into a new world, you can read the sequel novels, starting with Then, from the middle school library.